Good evening. Thank you so much for joining. We are very excited to welcome these three educators from uh, three different schools. They're going to share some of their experience, and they have all successfully navigated being assistant or associate teachers and have become lead teachers with different ages and different experiences. We are excited to welcome these three educators and look forward to hearing about their stories. We have a series of questions. They will know the order in which to respond and are certainly encouraged to talk to one another as well. If you have a question and are watching this live, then please feel free to send me a private chat directly through the Zoom uh, choice little icon at the bottom. Otherwise, if you are watching this at your own leisure, at your own time, and you have additional questions, please don't hesitate to reach out to jobfair@nysais.org. That will come directly to me. My name is Liz Fernandez, and I have been the Job Fair Administrator since 2000 and have lots of information that I'm happy to offer and also answer questions. And without further ado, I want to acknowledge my colleagues from NYSAIS and thank you for your behind the scenes support as always. Let's begin with having our panelists introduce themselves, where you work, how long, what's your role, tell us a little bit about the school that you are currently in, how long did you serve as an assistant or associate position. If you've switched schools, tell us a little bit about both schools and just about your experience in the order of Tiffany, Gloria, and Deja.
I'm first. Hi, my name is Tiffany Williams. I have been in education for the past 17 years. 8 of those years have been as an associate. So I don't know if I can tell. I've worked anywhere from Packer, I've worked at City and Country, Brooklyn Friends, a wonderful school in Connecticut, the Waterside School. And currently I've been a teacher at the Cathedral School of St. John the Divine, where I was an associate there in the associate program for 3 years. In the past 9 years, I've worked as one of the second grade lead teachers. I've taught K1 and 2, second grade being my favorite. And Cathedral School is an all-gendered school. It's an Episcopal school, but it welcomes all faiths. It is magical when I think of Cathedral. From the campus, from the peacocks to feeling like you're not in the middle of New York City. It's an absolutely amazing place to work with people who are really committed to the work of diversity, community, and just equity. And it keeps me there. Did I leave out anything? I don't think so. All right. Hi, nice to meet everyone.
Hi, everyone. My name is Gloria Rodriguez. I currently work at the Riverdale Country School in the Bronx. I am a kindergarten lead teacher. I have been in education for the past 12 years. I used to also run an after-school program a long, long time ago. And then I took a little break from education, then went back. So I started my trajectory in independent schools at the Chapin School. I was an assistant teacher there for 2 years. I learned so much from all my head teachers, my teacher partners, and I really took that experience to grow somewhere else. And I joined the Riverdale Country School. When I first worked my school where I work, it was evident that of the work of diversity, equity, and inclusion. It's really a really hard work that they do there, and my colleagues are very committed. And I enjoy working with with Riverdale. I think the sense of belonging that I have been shown there has been, unmatched to any other place that I've worked at. And so I really enjoy coming in there every day and connecting with my students, connecting with my colleagues, and really learning a lot from them. Riverdale is a progressive school. It's pre-K through 12. and is, it has a beautiful campus. We do a lot of things outdoors with the students, and we are slowly developing an environmental curriculum also that we want to expand campus wide.
Hello, everyone. My name is Deja Williams. I am currently the Director of Equity at the Brooklyn Waldorf School. I've been working in education for the past over 13 years. It's hard to really put a number on it because my path through education was just slowly growing and meandering. My journey first started at the Beauvoir National Cathedral Elementary School in DC as an associate teacher. I was there for 2 years, and that kind of opened up my journey in education, not only in schools, in independent schools, but throughout the world. I also, when I got to New York, did a stint in nonprofit organizational work where I ran the educational program for recently homeless men and women. And that just the start of being as an associate teacher got me thinking about where I wanted to be in education. And I think that's the beauty of an associate program is just being able to see all of the different facets of education and starting to think about who you want to be as an educator and start developing your educational philosophy. And so that really spearheaded my journey. After that, I did realize my heart was with the children, even though I loved my work with the adults. And that brought me to the Cathedral School of St. John the Divine, where I got to meet Tiffany Williams. And so just another beautiful community. I moved into a science teaching role there. It was a really incredible experience and again, still shaping my journey in education. And that's what led me to delve into the equity piece and wanting to create a more inclusive environment for all people in these institutions, especially as a person of color, as a woman. And so that's what brought me to my role at the Brooklyn Waldorf School. It is a school that is nursery to 8th grade. Their philosophy in education, the Waldorf philosophy, is not only centered in developing the wellness, the academic wellness of every child, but also their emotional and spiritual wellness. And I just believe truly that it aligns so deeply with equity work. The humans that are at that school are truly invested in the spirit and the humanity of every single individual in that building, in seeing truly every human as unique, not only pouring themselves into the children, but also pouring themselves into the colleague. As the director of equity there, it's my job to develop relationships with folks. So having deep conversations about what keeps these individuals there, and it is the community. And I've certainly experienced it myself. I recently was going through something personal in my life and really emotional, but coming off of the weekend, people asking you, how was your weekend? And I knew that truly on my heart, I could say it wasn't great. And every single person that I encountered held me with love, with tenderness. As an adult, they pour themselves into every individual in that community. It is truly beautiful to be in that space where you know that you're cared for. So yeah, absolutely a beautiful community. Thank you.
It is so lovely to hear each of you different perspectives, different experiences, a little bit of overlap. And of course, there's going to be the theme of overlap given that we're talking about transitioning from an assistant or associate teaching position to a lead teaching position. And yet your schools are different, and the age that you work with in a lead teaching position, either present or previously, are also different. I'm curious if we could go back, like way back. If you could expand a little bit more on what made you consider independent schools. Why, um, why was that the field or the type of educational institution that you chose, knowing that there are many different schools and none of you are alums of schools. So you really did come to independent schools because of the school, the opportunity. Tell us about your experiences as an assistant or associate teacher. Gloria, Tiffany, Deja.
Well, I additionally from being an educator, I also worked as a social worker for about 8 years. So I did consider a career change. And then I got my master's degree in education, and I knew that I wanted to be in the classroom. And at the time, I was working towards my master's, and with certification also being for the state, I wanted to get my feet in the door, and the independent school world was like very open to having teachers without certification come and have that teaching experience. So with that said, I my sister-in-law, who was working at the School of Columbia at the time, recommended that I join the independent school because it will be a great opportunity for me to grow professionally, to get my experience in the classroom. And so when I had my certification, then I can, of course, have many other options to navigate. And so I came across Chapin, and they were really wonderful in giving me that opportunity, even though I hadn't really had much of independent school at all, actually. So I went in and joined the Chapin school. It's a school. It's a single sex school. Is for girls only. And I did a lot of like I joined a lot of affinity spaces. I make sure that I also integrated myself in the school. I joined robotics team. So I was always really involved in the school outside of the classroom, just because I wanted to be a part of the community as well. So I think that those opportunities really helped me grow. And then when I moved to Riverdale, I was still an associate teacher. I really was shooting to get a head teacher, but it's really, just challenging at times to become a head teacher from associate. But I think that with, if you dedicate yourself, your flexibility, and the amount of time that you put in the community, in other areas. I also work as a heritage and identity coordinator with the community engagement team at my school in the moment. So I always found ways to join elsewhere so that I can, become more connected to the community. So those pathways for me really were helpful. I make wonderful connections. I love networking. I think I used to go to every single year. I used to go to the diversity fair because I was really just shooting to get that head teaching role that I've always yearned to do. And I think that Riverdale really gave me the opportunity, and I'm really glad that I came across the school and gave it a shot.
My journey is colorful because I didn't go into independent schools thinking I would be a teacher. My background is in television and radio. I'm a communications major. And so I am from a large family, the second child of 9. And so I just kept thinking, I better get going on this. And so I applied to every position, every job, everywhere. And working as a temp, this school in Connecticut, the Waterside School, called me in. And I went to see, and I didn't have much background or anything at all. And I just remember being just amazed with the head of the school at the time, Jody Visage, former social worker in New York City, taking on this school. And her energy was just so welcoming. I just want to see what this is. Let me try this out. And it was absolutely amazing. And the school was just starting out. And so the Waterside School at that time, Connecticut, didn't even have, all the kids weren't even in the same building. And so you had K1 and 2 in the building, and you have to go across the parking lot and go to like an office building, and 3, 4 would be. But it was the behind the scenes opening that happened to me. And I was like, oh my goodness, this is what my teachers went through. This is what my K teacher went through, my first grade, my second grade. And it was a community of just not the teachers, it was the parents. Everyone was so invested. And I'd never seen anything like that before in my entire life. And other than the fact that I lived in the Bronx, if I could have stayed and commuted, I would have been there. And so that sort of piqued my interest. And shortly after that, I went to Packer. And once again, just letting anything unfold, and taking on and just seeing the amazing work of Martha Hackmat. I've just remember being blown away, like, oh my goodness. At that time, she was diversity coordinator. And I was just like, whoa, this is a powerful woman. This is a powerhouse. Working with so many amazing teachers and backgrounds. And so my journey just changed. And I really just, I took the time to be an associate and I used it to just explore. And then I went to City and Country, which is a different type of school, and the block building. And so I just ate it all up. It was my classroom from someone who didn't come from a teaching background at all, too nervous to even hold a book. I mean, and I took it all in, and I worked at Brooklyn Friends and Horizon Summer Program. I mean, I went everywhere. And I think sometimes you want to appreciate the journey if you can. And I was privileged enough to be in a position where I could appreciate the journey and take in so much until I realized, like, okay, I want to do this. And I'm good at this. And I've got so many bits and pieces. And when I got to the cathedral school, Alan Donaldson, first day he met with me, I was his associate. He looked at me and he was like, why aren't you a head teacher? And it had never even occurred to me. And I was like, huh? And he was like, you have. And it was just, and it was one of the things I love about Cathedral, just that mentor, that loving environment, that nurturing environment. And so that's sort of where I came from, my experience. So independent schools was just so new to me as someone who grew up in public schools. And so that's how my journey sort of led me to this path of just being a teacher 9 years and just enjoying the vibrant life of being in the classroom.
I feel like so many of the things that Gloria and Tiffany said resonates with me too. My journey was certainly a lot different, but to connect with what Gloria said, certainly what attracted me to independent schools was that I didn't need certification. I was a young person who knew that I had a talent for being a teacher and I wanted to explore that path. But as a 19-year-old, I didn't know if I wanted to commit to that for the rest of my life and to enter into more schooling, a certification path after I just got out of undergrad. I didn't know if I was willing to commit to that. And with, certifications being different, I didn't even know where I wanted to settle in the world. And so getting certification in one state and it not likely maybe transferring to another state, it didn't seem like a good strategy for me to go the public school route. And so I knew I was a talented teacher. I felt that. And so the independent school world presented itself to me. And that is also part of the reason why I stayed in independent schools for so long, is that it felt like, because of that lack of kind of bureaucracy around like who is able to have access to teaching in these roles, is only based on your experience and not that you had the time and the finances to pay for a certification. And so that felt good. And that felt like I was being surrounded by this multitude of colleagues that came from all different backgrounds, and were inspiring me in my work. It also meant that in the classroom, I had a different type of freedom that wasn't afforded to my friends who were working in the public school system. I had more autonomy over my curriculum. And as a science teacher who also, I was a double major in undergrad in biology and fine art. And that was just my passions that I wanted to bring into the classroom. And I could do it with a lot of freedom, and any convoluted idea that I had, my division director was all for allowing me to do that. And so that felt really amazing. And especially when it came to me wanting to also infuse topics and lessons about diversity, equity, and inclusion into the classroom, I could just weave all of those things so seamlessly together, and meet my students where they were in terms of developmentally, emotionally, spiritually, what they were asking for that year, and it could change based on that, and certainly keeping in mind what they needed to walk away with in terms of it being a rigorous curriculum, but also that they could individually be seen in my classroom is what I believe the independent school afforded me. Another thing that kept me at independent schools was, while I grew up in the public school system, there was a bit of inequities that I was realizing happening. And there was a situation where students who were getting put in advanced level classes in a school that was predominantly Black, those advanced level classes eventually became very segregated, whereas most of the students were not Black. And that just made me want to, again, infuse more of that equity piece into my classroom, because that led to me moving into independent schools in my own educational journey. And I realized I was the only Black person, again, in these classrooms where most of my teachers were white. And so being in independent spaces as a person of color made me feel like I was changing the narrative for other Black and Brown students in those classrooms, to see an authority figure in those spaces, and letting them know that they also belonged in that classroom. And so, yeah, there was a number of things that led me to independent schools in keeping me there.
Well, I am so grateful to hear that somehow through the journeys that you each shared, that you have found a place within schools and have worked at multiple schools. I want to clarify for our listening audience, each school might have different expectations or parameters regarding certification, particularly certification in the younger grades may be different by school. In the upper grades, and by upper grades, I mean traditionally middle and upper high school grades, there may be less emphasis on certification. And the clarity that I think you each spoke to is you were not sure that you were looking to invest the time in working within an independent school. And so being able to just sort of dip your toe in and test out, what does it mean to have a certain level of autonomy over the curriculum, obviously within some guidelines, because in lower divisions, historically, there is a theme that you sort of follow and you pick your curriculum, etc. But that by and large, you had the opportunity to just experience what it might be like to work in an independent school, in a classroom teaching situation, and that an assistant or associate teacher gave you that entree and access to the role and to mentor lead teachers that could help you and support you. And some of you have cited some people who made some incredible impact in your life. I'm curious if, Gloria, if you could answer the question, when thinking about or describing a typical day, knowing that there is no such thing as a typical day, in the role of assistant or associate teacher, what is different about the assistant or associate role from being the lead teacher? And as you think about it, your response, as Tiffany and Deja listen, if there's anything that you would also add, by all means, add. And then we'll move on to, some of the challenges that you might have experienced. Gloria?
Yeah, certainly when, I started, experience, having my experience in the classroom, I really wanted to be a listener and a learner. I really just wanted to know that I was there to support and really connect with the students as well with my teaching partner. But because it was my very first time dipping my toes in the classroom, I really just wanted to learn from that mentor, from that teaching partner. I really wanted to get a sense of what their teaching style was, so that when I was given the opportunity to lead lessons, that I can sort of match that style so that it doesn't throw the students off. So I did a lot of listening at the first half of my first year. And then eventually I started asking, once I felt comfortable enough with my teaching partner, if there was anything that I could lead, I even as small as a small group activity that I can lead, so that I can start connecting with teachers. I know that it's not ideal. A lot of, I think it's a lot relationship building that has to happen. And your teaching partner needs to feel some sort of trust, that she can trust you with the classroom, that, that it kind of matches with what their style is. So I think that it takes a little bit of relationship building before you want to take in on more things. Now, on year 2, year 3, I was really, really eager and excited to take on units and things like that. But I also wanted to be respectful of who that teacher I was working with, like how they work, their, working habits. So I knew from the beginning, like, just to, like that, building that relationship was really important. And then eventually, leading on. I think that once going to Riverdale, I was given more of an opportunity to be in the classroom. When I started there as an assistant teacher in 2nd grade, my teaching partner was like, you need to make yourself known in this classroom. I need you to take on, I need you to lead, I need you. So she gave me that opportunity. She was the one that encouraged me to do it. Whereas in the other space, I really felt like I needed to kind of feel the room first, and in order to integrate myself in there. But yeah, it does take a lot of kind of like feeling it out first, and then feeling comfortable enough to ask, or or things. I know that also I really wanted to learn how to write reports. So the first year I was an associate teacher, I really didn't get much of that. But my 2nd year I did, and that really was a really good opportunity for me to learn about writing reports, narratives for students with with the checklist and all that. So I learned a lot of that in my 2nd year. And then my 3rd year, I was really fortunate to have a really wonderful teaching partner that really trusted me and really gave me that responsibility to lead. And she really wanted for me, for the students to see me as another teacher, not a helper or anything like that. So that made me feel really good and really welcome and accepted.
Thank you so much, Gloria. It sounds like the importance of developing that relationship with the lead teacher is critical to your development and success in the associate role. So that is really, really helpful for the audience to hear. Tiffany, Deja, anything briefly that you want to highlight in terms of how one is different from the other? Deja, I see you nodding, so go for it.
Yeah, I would just echo what Gloria is saying, and what she gained from the associate role is developing that responsibility as a lead teacher. Emotionally and physically, the responsibility load is much higher. And so yeah, when you're now responsible for fielding all of the parent emails, and anything that goes wrong, it's like the weight of it falls on you. The lesson planning, the reports, and so transitioning from that associate to lead role, it's helpful to kind of work your way up to taking on more and more of those responsibilities, because that's what the lead role comes with. And not because it depends on what type of lead you're with when you are an associate. Some leads really want you to come in maybe your first year, just feel it out, don't overwhelm yourself. But as you feel comfortable, take on more and more responsibility, because you're going to work your way up to what it feels like to be fully responsible for all of those things, whether or not they go right or go wrong. Yeah, just echoing what Gloria said, in that responsibility piece, emotionally and physically, feels big.
Thanks. Tiffany, anything from you, or can I move on to the next question? What are you thinking?
Similar thing. I think the biggest difference is interacting with the families as that lead teacher. Right? You're the associate, and so you're building a relationship with your head or lead teacher, you're figuring out a relationship with the kids. You are connecting with the families, but you're growing still. And when you take on that lead role, it's not just, those kids you're molding, it's the families too. You need to really make sure you have an established relationship. These are their babies. These are their hearts in your classroom, right? And so every family wants a teacher who knows their child. And I think that's the biggest piece, that really huge shift, and antidotes that you pick up, the mannerisms, the joke they share, the favorite this, they want to feel like you've been listening in and you know their child. I feel like that's the biggest responsibility. And also you switch, right? You're the mentor now. And so you gotta think of, what did I gain? What did I gain, and what was I looking for in a mentor? And then how do I put that out there for this next person? Um, and so that's another shift. So you're responsible for a lot more hearts, a lot more minds, not just your own. And so it's a huge responsibility. But it is an amazing role, though. It really truly is.
I love the enthusiasm that each of you brings, and I'm grateful for it. I'm certainly feeling the energy. I want to, earlier, Gloria mentioned she was involved in the robotics and has gotten involved in the community engagement team at Riverdale. And I'm super curious to know from Deja first and then Tiffany, what are some of the other, when you have been in the associate or assistant role, what were some of the things that you got involved in, that you would encourage anyone looking to make that transition, and what did you learn from the experience? And then, if there's anything else that you want to add, Gloria, to that question, by all means, we can certainly make space for that. So let's start with Deja and then Tiffany.
Yeah, so when I was at Beauvoir, I involved myself in a lot of extracurriculars, so to speak. Honestly, in my first year, I taught an after-school program. I taught knitting. It was really fun seeing those little fourth graders come and learning knits and purl stitches, as well as I joined the summer program and was a lifeguard. I, during the school year, was a part of, planning committees around our large global studies unit that worked its way throughout the entire school, a part of a newly budding equity committee among the faculty. And I do believe that involving yourself in such a diverse, you know, group of activities at the school is going to help shape your understanding of what school life is like? What is the organization around when, you know, the admin is thinking about making decisions about X, or, you know, someone is organizing activities for the students around Y, or what does the school look like during the summer months? It gives you a kind of understanding of the life cycle of the school, and what or the resources the school relies on to continue to run. And it just helps shaped my understanding of what place I wanted to be in the school. So when you're thinking about your next role in the associate teacher journey, this just helps shape your understanding of things. And also, it just helps you develop a community. I think community is key. And getting to see what your students and your colleagues are like after school while we're knitting and eating cake, or during the summer when we're all in our bathing suits and someone needs help putting sunscreen on their back. It just builds a different type of kind of social interaction with your colleague, and it deepens your connection with them. And so, yeah, when you do need help, you've built this different relationship with folks, and you can come to them in a more human capacity rather than just colleagues. So.
Similar to Deja, I started with camps. I mean, when I worked at Packer, I was like, this is humongous. And I didn't know where to begin. It was only my second year, you know, being a teacher. And so I worked at the summer camp before school started and just got the lay of the land. And same thing at Cathedral, you know, I took part in their STEAM camp for a while. I also think being a part of the missions team. So I worked Saturdays and doing kindergarten intake for prospective families. You know, that's another way to get to know and see the community in a different way. And, you know, and like Deja said, it's another you just exploring, like, is this something I'm interested in? I also did a lot of tutoring too. It's another way to get to hang out with kids one-on-one, ways to connect with families. And then get involved in the silliness of school, right? That's the fun of school. And so anything that involved a play or a joke or anything after school life, you take part of it. It'll really, really help shape your experience.
Thank you both. Gloria, anything else you want to add?
Well, I consider myself a lifelong learner. So I remember that every year I was in school, I always used to ask for professional development. I'm really passionate about curriculum. So I really always look for ways to better my craft by learning different, you know, from different workshops. So that was something that I always took the initiative in asking my head of school, my head of the lower school for approval and things like that.
Great suggestion. A couple of takeaways from this segment that I want to highlight for our listening audience. The importance of getting involved in different aspects of the school, even before you begin your employment at the school. There are always camps for you to explore if they're looking for counselors. For many of the schools, if there is a day camp, a summer camp experience, there's the opportunity to get to know some of the students that are part of that division, and likely their families as well. And so that's a way to understand a little more about who you're likely going to be working with, their learning and experience, and you'll also get to know the campus itself, and be able to move and navigate spaces and get to know colleagues, because often colleagues are working within schools in some sort of camp experience, et cetera. So, you know, that's a good takeaway. Appreciate the mention of tutoring as an opportunity as well, and the admissions. The admissions office is always looking for educators to partner and to be able to be part of the intake process. So that's another opportunity for you to think about being involved. I'm gonna pose a question, and I'm going to invite whoever's interested in responding first to take the lead. It's a two-parter. I'm curious for you to think about how a candidate can indicate that they are ready to be in the lead position, and how And what are some things that they can expect from the hiring process? Because as we know, we have candidates who are listening to this webinar and will come to the job fair on February 24th and think they are ready, and they'll need to really convert that enthusiasm and vision for self into something that is palpable and clear to the hiring managers who are going to be assessing the candidate pool. So how do you indicate you're ready, and what can you expect from the hiring process? Just a couple of sound bites from each of you would be really great. Who wants to go first?
I'll go first. Indicate that you're ready. Two things. Sometimes you have to say it. You have to put it out there, right? Because it depends on your lead teacher and their personality. So I've been in situations like, I'm interested in this. Sometimes just say it. And then follow-up question, what can I do to show that, right? Ask someone. And also it's that showing piece, as you build a relationship with your elite teacher, I've been in a position I'm just like, can I take on this writing unit? And because I've been proving myself, go ahead. And you have to be okay as a teacher to show off, right? Otherwise, you want to make sure all your hard work, it doesn't go unnoticed, and you also make sure people know. So just speak up in any way possible, and you have to just say it and also show it. So I've been a part of both experiences. In terms of, if I gave like one soundbite in that job hiring process, I've been a part of many hiring committees, excuse me. Come with knowing the school. Come with questions yourself. You're going to sit there and you're going to think, okay, I'm answering questions, but you want to come too prepared with questions. And you want to make sure you know something about this place that you want to be a part of. So if you're showing a commitment and you want that trust in that step, invest the time in this place. And they want, in that school, it wants to feel that. Because that does stand out when you're able to say it was on your website, or I spoke to a parent below, or I said hello to the person at the front desk and they said this. Make some sort of real connection, because that really is going to stand out, and come with questions about for the school. I think that's going to go a long way.
I'll go second. I echo with what Tiffany is saying. Definitely, you need to be vocal about it. And you also, especially like coming from I personally, I took on every opportunity that was out there. I started, as an associate teacher at Riverdale, but then there was a leave replacement, maternity leave replacement. And although I knew that after that next year, I may not have a space from that, I still went for it because I wanted to get the experience in the head as a head teacher. So I feel like any opportunity that's out there to get that experience, that head teaching experience, is crucial. And if you find that the place that you're in is the place that you really want to be, you need to be vocal. You need to express how much you enjoy the community. You need to make yourself exposed and really join many different things, so that you can start getting to know the people that are going to be really making those decisions.
I definitely want to echo everything that Tiffany and Gloria have said. Yeah, if you have the opportunity to ask your teaching partner, your lead teacher, for more responsibility, do it. The job fair is on the 24th, so we don't have a lot of time for you to garner that experience. So going into something like the job fair, if you're excited about a school, look at before you go in there, make sure your resume is up to date. And you've gone over it. And in your resume and in those conversations, you are highlighting the leadership things that you have done. Because you are moving into a leadership role, and that's what you want to put forth. As people of color, we tend to undersell ourselves. You need to talk yourself up, because you will be surprised at how much leadership things that you have done already. So go ahead, go in that resume, find those things and hone in on those things and talk about them. Really be confident in yourself, because we are amazing, and certainly you are too. And bring that excitement to those conversations. Like Tiffany said, know what school you want to apply to that you're excited about, know yourself, and make connections between the two. Talk about what you could bring to that school based on what they're doing, and envisioning yourself in that position. And I think that would go a long way.
Great suggestions and tips. Of course, coming ready, of course, having, some basic understanding of the curriculum. All schools have a pretty robust website that indicates what the curriculum looks like in a particular division or in a particular learning community or level. That's always important, having a couple of key questions to ask. One thing that I would suggest, if you are currently working within a school in an assistant or associate role, if you haven't witnessed if you haven't been witnessed the search process for a position, what a sample lesson would look like, anything along those lines, I would really encourage you to tap into the resources that you have with other colleagues who have already gone through, and just ask them about the experience. Ask your lead teacher, or ask, if you're in graduate school, ask others. Crowdsource information to learn from people's experiences if you don't have the opportunity to step in and observe what a demo lesson looks like in the hiring process at your current school. That, for me, is quite possibly one of the most important pieces that I would suggest, in addition to what our panelists have said. Here's a question for you all as we near the end of our time together. And you probably figured out, what do you wish you knew making this transition that would be helpful for a candidate to know? Deja, I'm going to ask you to go first, Tiffany second, and Gloria third. And then after Gloria speaks, then I'll tie a bow around our time together and give our audience some additional information as you prepare for the job fair and for your hiring process. So what do you wish before you made the transition that you knew that you think would be helpful?
I feel, again, I always bring it back to just like imposter syndrome, or especially when it comes to people of color, is that there are resources for you, and that everyone goes through these feelings, especially around maybe feeling like you messed up, that you're not doing well. Those are human emotions, and those are human experiences that happen to everyone. And so don't isolate yourself through those kind of tricky times. And ask for help when you need it, and that everyone goes through it. And certainly that after your first year, it gets easier, it gets different. I will say, after the first year, it feels easy in that you know some of the things to expect. Children are children. They're always going to throw a curveball at you. That's what makes it fun. But after the first year, you get the rhythm, and so it feels better.
Deja, you stole my answer. That's what happens. We work so long together. Ask for help. Just because you're the lead or the head does not mean that you can't still reach out for help. One of the advices I love from my current head, Ms. Higgins, is nothing good happens after 8. So sometimes don't check emails after a while. You got to do self-care, because it's your first year, and so you have this thing like, I want to prove myself. I want to show them that I do have the right to be here, that I haven't just. They know you have the right to be there. You're in that position for a reason. They hired you for a reason. So self-care is important. another advice I would give, I don't know if it's appropriate or not, but I would say give yourself a chance to make mistakes and own the mistakes in front of the kids. I think I don't put too much pressure on yourself. Yes, you want to do good, but that also is a really big part of learning. And so creating a classroom space where you're open to go, oh my goodness, I messed this up, or oh my, I think it gives you room to breathe. It gives the kids room to breathe. So that's really important piece too.
Wow, okay. This is what happens when you're the last one. Well, pretty much what Deja and Tiffany mentioned. It's the whole idea of really connecting. I wish that I knew before, just to enjoy the process and enjoy the learning experience. And it is okay to take teaching risks with your students. It is okay to make mistakes, like my two other colleague panelists are saying. But I think that it's just allowing yourself to give space. And students, definitely, they're going to love you no matter what. You are there to make a difference, and you are there to help them, and they know that. So I think that just enjoying the process, enjoying being in that space, and really owning up. We're wonderful people, and we're hard workers, and we're just there to make a difference as well as everyone else. And it's just a matter of breathing and relaxing, and just be yourself, be who you are, be your authentic self.
What fantastic advice from three of you. Thank you so much for sharing your experiences and your journey. Remember, audience, a couple of takeaways, and one that I want to highlight that was mentioned a little while ago. The value of professional development and the funding that an investment that goes into supporting all educators, regardless of the role or your title at schools, cannot be underscored. So take advantage of the PD that is offered by the school on those days. What is the learning? What can you get out of the experience? What can help you enhance and affirm what you're doing and provide you with new skills that you want to continue to nourish? Think about professional development that is offered by various organizations, including NYSAIS has a robust amount of professional development offerings throughout the year for all levels and all disciplines. And also there are other additional institutions, organizations, teaching institutions that we're lucky to have access to. Please pursue those as well. There is always an opportunity for anyone in any role at any age to learn and to be at their best, to really be able to serve the young people that are attending our schools, and ultimately to partner with families to be able to really support developing really strong learners and leaders and thinkers and writers in our school community. So this is super exciting for me to start this year and this season with this conversation with the three of you. I want to note for our audience, assistant or associate teacher is not the same thing as a co-teacher, which is typically a co-lead teacher or a co-head teacher. So make sure that you read those position descriptions very carefully to know the differences. If you need any assistance, please don't hesitate to reach out to me at jobfair@nysais.org for any insight or clarification, to answer any question that might come up in advance of the job fair and certainly beyond the job fair. Help us to spread the word about the job fair. Registration is open. It is always free to candidates. There are many webinars that are available that we have done over the last few years that we invite people to watch, including this one. So thank you for those that have watched it. And if there's any other questions, as I said, please don't hesitate to reach out. With that, I will pause. I will thank my colleagues at NYSAIS in particular for your support as always and partnership. Tiffany, Deja, Gloria, thank you for the ways in which you show up each and every day to be able to support colleagues and to be able to guide those aspiring young minds that are entrusted to in your care each and every day, that are so very lucky to have you in their lives as their teachers and their guides. So thank you for your time, for sharing your stories. Thank you, everyone. Buenas noches. Have a great evening. See you on the 24th.